Hello, welcome back to the Sashiko Live Streaming. This is Atsushi. Uh, I'm back. I'm back from Atlanta, from the QuiltCon. Let me check the audio a little bit. Oh, okay, perfect. Sakura, Sakura. All right. So yes, everything was good. Everything was good as planned. It was a great QuiltCon 2023. I was honored to be part of it again. And as you can tell, the lecture was a little bit overwhelming, bigger than what I expected, but it's all okay. I would like to talk about a little bit of after QuiltCon, and then next week I will talk about the difference between the Sashiko and the quilt. Yes. Well, I do not have that right now with me, so I will wait until the next time I can prepare actual quilting that I made, which I don't know if I can call it quilting. But yes, I will come back. I will come back to this live streaming for March, and then I will probably have to stop doing that in April because I will be in Japan. I hope I can do that from Japan at some... Sakura. Are you okay, Sakura? Well, I hope I can do the live streaming from Japan, but that's another challenge that I have to see. So let's... Sakura, are you okay? You were sneezing like crazy. Alright, so I will switch the camera. I am doing something extraordinary. It's not something I usually would do. I don't have the time to stitch, to be honest. It's really contradicting to what I wrote on the Instagram, but I did. It's a little bit too busy right now, so I will try to stitch more. And I would like to make this sample before I go back to Japan, so I would like to spend some time on this. And because this requires a little bit of mind, I might take a bit of quiet live streaming today. Hello, Reiko-san, arigatou gozaimasu. Hello, Candida, welcome back. It was a little crazy after QuiltCon. And I do have another workshop at the end of this month. No, the beginning of the beginning of next month, and then Japan trip. So it is a little bit busy month because I have a tax return as well, and the March is always a busy time. So I probably shouldn't be. I shouldn't be putting this much stuff to do, but things are planned already, and I need this sample, so you'll see something very new. Well, I have been stitching the same pattern over and over, and I hope this can be a sort of the refreshment. Hello, Sharon. どうしよっかな。こっち行くと、こっち行くか。こっち行きません。See, I start talking Japanese a little bit. The QuiltCon was quite interesting. It was kind of huge. I don't know if that's my reaction to that QuiltCon this year, but it was very huge. So I've been to the Austin and Phoenix, and this was the third one in Atlanta. But the America's Mart. Well, I don't know about the actual name for that, but that the conference room as well as the building was extremely huge, and there's so many vendors and also very good quilting. It was quite overwhelming, and it is a sign that things are coming back. So I was very happy to see people hanging out like that. And it made me feel it was kind of normal, and that was a quite a big deal for me. Hello, 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 welcome back. So things are coming back. Things are coming back. I hope I can go to the next year's QuiltCon too. I believe I submitted application, so let's see how it's gonna go. But I had an opportunity to, well, I will make the webinar or online lecture about the same contents of the lecture I offered in the QuiltCon. But one of the kind of conclusion, or one of the ending phrase is the difference between quilt and Sashiko. I have been looking for the kind of simple answer for that question. What is the difference between quilt and Sashiko? Especially since I teach Sashiko in the quilt conference, I always wanted to bring that answer somehow. It does not have to be a right answer, but some answers, the answer I can think of. And this time I could bring it. Again, it's I don't know if they like it or not. It might not be correct, but I at least brought my own answers to the question, what is the difference between the quilting and Sashiko? It is very easy to say it's the different technique, different style, different design, different ideas, different country, different culture. There's so many different things, but after all, both of them are stitching, hand stitching, or like stitching, form of the stitching. So I wanted to have what is the big difference in between Sashiko and quilting. I don't want it to be like an assignment, but let's make it like assignment. Like what do you think it is? It's a mind food. It's more like a focus. What do we focus in Sashiko? What do we focus in QuiltCon? Again, there's no answer for that, but I have been thinking about this. What is the difference between those? And it was very good that I finally could offer my understanding, or at least my answer to that. So, I would like to share that with the actual sample that I made. And okay, I'll be honest, I cannot find it. I have been quite busy since I came back from the Atlanta, and I have not organized the everything I brought back. And it's gotta be somewhere, right? It is somewhere, but I cannot find it now. So I will find it at some point next week, and then I will talk about it. First, I have to complete the tax return. It's not a W-2 that I used. Like I used to do only my wife's tax, and that was only W-2. So it was not that, well, I could do it by myself, actually, using those software, but because I am self-employed right now, that's a lot of things that I have to do. And those are not something I'm good at. So let's see. Let's see how it's gonna go. どうしようかな。Just a second. to me, the biggest difference is the batting, and pops in quilting focus on the stitch, location, appearance, while Sashiko focus on the unshin. That is right. That's very true. Yep. I rephrased that in a different way. Wait for my answer next week. That's about it. That's a really good summary. At the same time, batting might not be the difference, though. We can find some Sashiko items with something. Well, it's not. The quilting has to stitch through 3 layers. Has to. So yes, that's a big difference. But in Sashiko, we have something with the kind of something inside to keep it warm. So that might not be the difference, but it is very much so. Again, there's a tons of difference and tons of similarities. But as the teacher, as the one who offered the lecture, I wanted to define the difference from my perspective. It does not have to be somebody's answer again, just my perspective. I'm glad that I could do that. I just, want them to think about it. It's not a technique difference. There are different techniques, but not only the technique, and it's kind of the end of the mind game or brainstorming if we end up with saying like it's just the different technique. It's probably more than that. My God. So when I stitch this kind of pattern, you have to think. Please think. You have to really think. As the result, we kind of stop talking. But quilts. I have been teaching Sashiko for almost, well, wow, 5 years. No, not 5 years. Almost 5 years, yeah. Oh my. Well, the first class that I offered in Japanese was exactly 5 years ago. So wow, I've been teaching Sashiko for 5 years, and that's why I'm kind of getting confident about what I can do and what I cannot do. No, every time I get nervous, and I will stop doing the workshop or lecture when I don't feel nervous. But that being said, the workshop itself I'm getting better at that. And even at this time, I knew what I could expect. And I hope that they will come back to the live streaming or any other places that they can keep stitching. After all, stitching itself will make, the process of stitching will just make the Sashiko better. The more they stitch, the more you stitch, it gets better. So I'm curious to see how you stitch the little parallel line inside each diamond. I'll stitch soon. There's no answer for that, as you know. And there's sample, and I keep saying it's sample here. It says sample. This is the piece that this is one piece I will bring to Japan, and everybody who joined the Japan tour kind of has to stitch. So I'm trying to kind of calculate how many hours I need to complete this pattern, or how long does it take for them to complete. Some may complete it before they come to Japan. The other may just complete it while they're in Japan. So it is really important for me to make sample, and that's what I realized a week ago when I received that materials in the US. I wasn't 100% sure if I could send them before the Japan trip. But since I have it right now, I think it's better to make the sample. And this fabric is available online too. This fabric is sorry, not right now. Will be available online when I have enough fabric. So please keep following the Upcycle Stitches account, where you should get the update. But this fabric has many patterns, which requires a lot of thinking, and more like a puzzle that, yeah, a puzzle. It's like a puzzle that you have to keep thinking where to stitch and where not to stitch. Hello, hello. And don't ask me why I'm stitching with this rainbow. Answer is pretty simple, because I had it here. It will probably look great, but the reason I'm stitching right now is because I had it here. One of the review that I got from one of the participants is that they enjoyed stitching for 6 hours or 5 hours actually, and then they're so surprised that their shoulders or neck or their body or even finger did not hurt. And that's a very good sign that they are listening. They're trying to follow what I teach. The pain shouldn't be happening anywhere. It should not happen. No matter how many hours we stitch, pain shouldn't be the pain shouldn't be the sorry, I'm thinking. Pain shouldn't be the outcome of Sashiko stitching. Sorry. I was thinking like, because of this thinking process, I have to choose the easier fabric to do on the live streaming. I know probably this one is more educational for those who watch it, because it's a new pattern and not many people stitch like this way, I guess. At least I focus on the running stitch machine than making the even pattern. So for me, the rhythm is more important than anything. Yep, 9 patterns fabric is very good piece to stitch too. That's a little bit more difficult. So this is like a one step behind. If the 9 patterns one, which I also completed, is the like a advanced one, this is more like intermediate. 9 patterns might take a long time to complete, but this one shouldn't be that much. Probably not more than a day. Not more than a day. If one can stitch throughout. I wouldn't say few hours, but not more than a day. There are so many misunderstandings of Sashiko that they have to stitch one by one. They have to control the needles. Oops. It is kind of sad that that's what they have to do. There's nothing wrong with it, but you know. Oh. I was gonna talk about that. So the importance of upstream. So I am getting more to this like a conclusion. I'm getting to conclusion more and more every time I speak up. But if you decided to teach Sashiko, go ahead. I am not going to be upset or sad or even like, I don't ask for anything, like no royalty or no money, nothing. I'm not gonna ask anything. But one thing, just mention where you learn from. And that's it. That's the only things I have not charged any money for any teachers to teach before. I probably have mentioned that that might be the case at some point, like a few years ago before COVID, because I wanted to protect my, my bread as well. Bread? No, my, what do you call that? The way to make bread. I wanted to make sure that I have my own, like I wanted to secure what I can do. But after all, if they want to teach Sashiko, I encourage them. Just I want them to make sure that where they got it from, like upstream. That was the strong post I made on Instagram. Anything is good. Any Sashiko is great. Any how they teach is great. I don't mind how much they charge. They can make millions if they can. That means they're better than me in advertising or making money. So it's perfectly fine. I just don't want to lose the upstream. Unfortunately, in this world, there's no such a thing as self-taught without any resources. There are tons of kinds of self-teaching. Like for example, I teach how to set up this camera or how to set up this this software online to make a live streaming. I self-taught by reading someone's article, right? And that is someone that I don't remember or I don't even mention that. And Sashiko has become like that already. They go to online, they read someone's information, they follow someone's video, they follow someone's tutorials. Because Sashiko has very limited stories, or it has been Sashiko has not been developed as the culture, that can be quite dangerous. So that somebody has to be actually somebody knowing about Sashiko. So as the conclusion, what I decided to do, my stand as of today is that please teach Sashiko, just make sure to have the upstream listed. I learned Sashiko from this live streaming and I'm teaching it right now. So, and that's the only things I need to do right now. I don't want to make it complicated. I don't want to make it difficult. This is right now is not a time to focus on me. It is very critical to focus on the upstream. It is about to be lost. It has been probably lost already. Now I have to revive that. In order to do so, mentioning the upstream is very, very, very key. This might be interesting discussion, but there are people who can probably master or who can get used to this running stitch by just watching the live streaming or watching my YouTube videos without me teaching it. They are, and I'm really happy for that. You know, I do not want to choose who can learn based on what they have or what they don't have. No matter how much they have or how less they have, I want them to learn. So that's great that they can learn. At the same time as I teach, with asking for the fees for me to make living, you know, this one assumption, this is my assumption, but there are one line that I can probably draw that who can learn how to do running stitch without taking my class, and one probably really need my assistant. It's probably accurate. It's my assumption, but it's probably accurate. And if you are part of that, probably just watching the live streaming might not be helpful to get this kind of running stitch. Those are the one who are very good at sewing. If one is very good at sewing right now, from the Western style, let's say, then they might need my personal assistant. So I very much recommend you to them to take the workshop or online class. They will need that. If one does not have any stitching experience, then my help might not be needing. So it's really interesting, but the process of uninstalling is more difficult than process of installing this technique or mindset. So somebody need to uninstall everything they have, and then they not have to, but they would like to install that new one. And many people suffer from that uninstalling process. So for that, if they can, that can be probably the biggest difference. And it's kind of interesting because, not interesting, it's kind of good mutually, because if they are good at sewing like that level, they probably have some occupancy. They have job, they have something. They might be a professional quilting teacher, sewing teacher, or even quilters. They probably have stable income. So I would like to ask them to invest in the time they might not. They probably can cut a lot by taking the workshop. But again, it's gonna be more difficult for them if they have more experience in the sort of, let's say, Western style stitching, sewing, or hand stitching. And my workshop, my online class is probably the best support for those. If one is not really doing the hand stitching in their life, then maybe. I mean, of course, I hope they can take that, but they might get it more easily for that. Ooh. Just a second, okay? I'm still thinking. If I go this way, what's gonna happen? I don't like that. Okay. See? That's what I don't like about so many stitching, so many changing directions, so many thinking. You know how easy it is to have a Asanoha pattern here and start stitching. Everything else requires some brain, and it is really it's not an ideal material to speak and stitch simultaneously. I'm going to try to do that too, like try to stitch and speak simultaneously. You probably will find that what is the easiest material to stitch on. It's probably the pattern you can draw even without thinking, like the pattern or lines that you use so every single day, so that you can easily imagine how to do it. And the pattern for me was the Asanoha. Sakura is snoring. That's good. I was worried about her sneezing like that. Good job, Sakura. Sleep. But yeah, next week, please come back again, because as I will talk about the difference between Sashiko and quilting from the Sashiko's perspective, with wishing that I can use the exactly same topic for the QuiltCon 2000. Wow, 24. 24, wow. I don't know if I can be there, but I hope I can be there too. I will be in Minnesota probably for the first time in 2024. It's really far from now, so we have not really talked about the details, but it's more likely that I will be in Minnesota. Wow, Minnesota, like a Minneapolis? Minneapolis, wow. So I used to go to the some may know that I used to go to the university in Michigan. And do you remember the airline before Delta? Like Delta merged them. But when I was in school, like 2003, 2004, they still existed. I don't know how many people remember that airline. But there was one, like white, gray. Like Delta is a dark blue. United is like a light blue in my kind of image. But there was a color of like gray, and that, in order to go to the place I was studying, that was the airline that I had to take, and the Minneapolis was the hub for that airport. Was it Northwest? It is the Northwest. Oh my God, it has been so long since they're gone. Northwest, it is. Northwest, it is. And Minneapolis was the hub, like Atlanta for Delta. Wow. I feel old when I kind of talk about it. It was not a good. I'm sorry to say. I don't know how many people here remember that, but that was not the best airline though. It was they had a they had quite. I always remember that back then we didn't have the screen in front of us. Like you have to sit. We have to go to business class to have a personal monitor, probably the first class. And then there was a tiny, tiny screen on the head of the economy class or the the partition. And we all watch the same movies in the airplane, not like a it's not like personalized movies or like entertainment. I always bought a book in Japan when I came to the US. Like 3 or 4 books that I can keep reading it. No iPhone, no iPad, no Kindle, no nothing. Just book or like a carry portable game, which what was that? There's no switch, so something was there, but there's no charger. Nothing needed to be charged. Yes, the one movie was edited to be family friendly because kids can watch it. Yes. I mean, I don't know the age that they could smoke in the airplane. There was the time that they could smoke in the airplane. And I don't know that. It's not my time. But things are changing so much. Yet we are doing exactly the same hand stitching. That's really funny. I still don't know why we do this hand stitching in this. Like, this is not something we have to do, right? We choose to do it. For those who need the kind of psychological or mental stabilities, this might be something they must do. But technically speaking, we don't have to do that. But we choose to do it. And I'm always fascinated by why. I mean, no, I mean, there's always reason, and I understand it, but it's so interesting that Sashiko is getting so popular when everything is so easy to access. The entertainment is very easy to access. Like, Blockbuster was everything for my college. You go to the Blockbuster. Well, they didn't have a Blockbuster. They had a different, like a local one called Video Hits Plus. But every weekend we went there and get the DVD or even VHS. Wow. I feel so old. My daughter will never see the DVD or VHS. Not a never. She has been seeing that. She has seen that before, but she will probably not gonna use it. So that's how culture change, right? Like the culture is supposed to change, so it should change like that. But I would like to make sure that there are people who knows about DVD or VHS for Northwest or anything. I don't want the culture to be erased. And unfortunately, that's what's happening right now in Sashiko, and that's what I'm trying to do to kind of change it. Now, from now on, it's kind of a mess. You have to do nicely, otherwise you'll get a lot of mess. どうしよっかな。ちょっと待ってね。こうい、違う。こういって、こうか。Do you see the answers for this pattern? Because I don't. There's no answers. I just always find the easiest one, and that should be the answer. I don't think we can go back to that age anymore. And I don't know. At least I wouldn't be stitching right now if the age didn't change. After all, no matter how much I try to speak up, I am here thanks to the trend. So I am not denying the trend or popularity of Sashiko. I just wish that to be more mindful. Not a wish, I just wanted to be more mindful, and that's it. Not more than that, not less than that. Change is great. Change is 100% great, but I just need that change to be mindful so that culture will not be lost. If we decided to lose the culture, that's perfectly fine, but I want them to decide that, them as the Japanese people who stitched. If they decided to, let's, F it, I'm not gonna leave the culture behind it, that's perfectly fine. I may have to follow that at some point, but that should be done by Japanese. I thought you could either jump in straight lines or do the 3 set of short lines with corners. I thought jumping looked better, and that's what you chose. Sharon, that's very, 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 very good question, and you got it right. You can teach it. You might be better than me. Anyway, so that's the combination. You can either jump straight line or combination of that. Either way is fine. One probably universal rule is that you have to do the diagonal line first. You don't have to. We don't have to do that diagonal first, but that's the easiest way to do that. After that, it's more like I like straight for this size. I like this size. The jumping is probably the better. If it's bigger than this, I will probably do a set of 3. It's really the stitcher's choice. But make sure that you don't fall into the project that you have to do kasane. I mean, you have to do, if you have to do kasane everywhere, this project won't be so happy. So this will have a back fabric. After I stitch, I put the fabric in the water, and then when the fabric is all ready, I will try to put the back fabric on it. So it will be the completion there. So any way is fine unless it has some kasane somewhere. It doesn't have to be always many kasanes, but somewhere has to be kasane. And then after that, there is no such a thing as the answer. Ka. I hope this is kind of helpful for those who might need help. Which the reason I kind of laughed is that I probably made a mistake. I made a mistake. Mistake is not actually the mistake, but it's more like taking a detour. You can tell I don't like this a lot. It's not my favorite things to do now. But again, we have to do it at some point, so it's not like Asanoha pattern I can always leave it to the end. But this one, I might leave it to the end later, but that's not ideal. We have to do it at some point, and for this one, it's a sample. I have to make it at some point. You may not find this live streaming fun because I'm not stitching in the rhythm, which means I'm not really having fun in stitching per se, not live streaming. So it might communicate that I'm not having fun much. Konnichiwa. Konnichiwa. Sorry for coughing. Konnichiwa. Sorry. So why did I apologize? Things are getting very close to each other. I have a workshop in 3 weeks? Or no, a month. And then after that, Japan trip. Oh my. Things are so packed. I hope that everybody is doing such a great spring. It's really warm winter, if I'm not mistaken. I shouldn't talk about it. I shouldn't talk about it. It might be speaking of devil. No, I shouldn't be talking about it. No, I did not talk about it. No. It's regular winter. So nothing is happening. I don't like this. I don't like it. I don't like it. I apologize for such a stupid question, but if it's Sashiko ever done through 2 layers of fabric, it's not a stupid question. Yes. Yes. It can be layered. It can be layered. That's so yeah, it can be layered. There's no rule that you have to stitch on the one layer of fabric. It can be layered. Sorry, I thought I could answer a little better, but yeah, it can be layered. And it's not a stupid question at all. Actually, people probably tell others or teach others that Sashiko has to be always one layer, right? No. Then how do they make Boro? They made Boro by doing Sashiko, and there's no such a thing as Sashiko versus Boro, okay? There's no such a thing as Sashiko technique and Boro technique. It's always on the same line, Sashiko then Boro. And without layering the fabric and stitching all together, there wouldn't be any fabric so-called Boro. So someone teaching that the one layer Sashiko has to be only one layer is missing a whole point of a Boro. I appreciate those questions because stupid question would be something. I don't think there's so stupid questions in my live streaming. I receive sometimes a stupid question on my Instagram, like, what is sashimi? Like, I think you're asking about Sashiko. And I understand that the Google autocorrect that. But you didn't have a time to check it before you press the button sending it. And if that's from friend, that's funny, right? If that's from somebody I know very well, it's really funny. It's not a stupid. It's really funny because we're a friend. We don't worry about the outcome. So it's perfectly fine. I can laugh at it. But if you are sending it to somebody for the first time, that that's something we have to pay attention, I guess. このプロジェクトのどの部分が気にこのプロジェクトのどの部分 the question, there was a question in Japanese. Which part of this project you don't like? Codes that I cannot stitch in the rhythm. It's very, I wouldn't say slow, but it ruins the rhythm, and I don't like to think about it. I'll do running stitch without thinking, and that's the, I was saving it for later, but as I received the question, this one requires a lot of thinking, feeling and thinking. If it's like this whole pattern, then probably, sorry, if the size is like big as the one sheet, then probably I wouldn't be complaining this much. But because it's so small, long straight lines are more fun. Yes, long straight long straight line is more, how can I say, I can be completely brainless. As the result, I can do better live streaming. Sorry, just これ邪魔。君邪魔。ちょっと君邪魔。サンプル表にしとかな。表も邪魔。ちょっと待って。Just a second. これとこれ。気持ち悪い。こうするか。こうしときゃ大丈夫やろ。This is a good pattern. This is a good pattern to look at. And it is probably a very beautiful pattern. Even with this rainbow thread, it's gonna be quite beautiful. But from the stitching perspective, there are better patterns. I mean, for me though. Everybody has a different pattern as their favorite. Well, then you may ask, like, why did you start with that Hishisekaiha? Well, I don't have a reason for that. And since I started with the, sorry, I sword. Since I started with the Hishisekaiha, my rhythm is completely broken, so I have to readjust that. It's excuse. I'm sorry. It's a complete excuse that I redid it, but it's the excuse. My resume is now. I think it's back. You don't have to write it in Japanese. I really appreciate. I really appreciate it. But this is the live streaming in English, so English is actually better. So I don't have to translate from Japanese to the English. Tomorrow morning, it's gonna be Japanese one. In that case, please write down in Japanese so it's much easier for everybody else. I really appreciate it though. I appreciate you trying. But there's a reason I have a two live streaming in two different language. See, this one is little more. How can I say? Little more comfortable. I mean, every pattern's okay, but I feel more comfortable. Oh. Will you do the whole sample in the rainbow colors? Probably so. I was not thinking. Good question, Sharon. Good question. That's a very good question. That's what do you think? Should I do it with everything in the rainbow? Is that a specialty thimble on your middle finger? Yes, it is a specialty thimble. It's a very special. I've never seen rainbow thread before. It's I don't know if it's rainbow. It's sort of rainbow. Oh, Robin, don't apologize. Please don't apologize. It's just, please, you can stay here, of course, and thank you so much for being here. But please try to come tomorrow so you can help me to, you can probably communicate with the other Japanese people too. So I used to translate everything in one live streaming. So both welcome, like English speakers welcome, Japanese speakers welcome, and I was trying to switch language in between. It was chaotic. So I had fun, but it was chaotic. As the result, I now offer this 2 live streaming. And I think it's probably the best fit. Translating in between is a little bit difficult. Well, one day probably there might be some, AI or the machine that it can translate simultaneously, but until then, I think it's good to have 2 live streaming. If you're looking for the rainbow thread, it is, well, I can show you. It's like this. It's not clean, but this is the rainbow thread that I'm using. It's 202. 202 is the color code on our website. I might say pastel. I don't know if we call this pastel color, but for some reason I've been using the name for pastel color because that was named almost 20 years ago in my family business. So in my mind, 202 is more like pastel, and 201 is the kind of not original, but original. I don't know what it is in English, and I probably should check it, but comes natural to me. Oh, new people here today a lot. Thank you. I say something very important this meeting, not a meeting, this live streaming first. So please take back, not a take back. Please go back and watch. Good night. Good night. Good night. Good night. Good night. I will stop soon. Actually, too. It is quite late. Many of some may be expecting to see the front side. So give me a little bit of time so that I can show you the front side. See, I did not speak up. Well, after the extremely busy March, and then April, in March I will go back to the Asanoha Parents Only live streaming. I still have 50 meters to go, and I don't know why I said it, but again, the promise is promise. Thank God I did not promise until when, but the promise is a promise, so I have to do the 100-meter Asanoha, and I have not done more than less than, it's not even half yet. So I will go back to there after, in May, probably I'll do that. Right now, I have to make a sample. Sample is important. Sample is important. And I usually make sample while having fun. Like watching Netflix or some, listening to the music. I might not have time for that until April. It is a very nice treat for me to be able to stitch at night like this. That's that busy. Okay. Let's see the front. Allah. Give up, 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 give up. For today, for today, for today. Give up, give up, give up, give up, give up. So. It's 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4, 5, probably 5 hours. Without talking, 5 hours for sure. With talking, probably not 5 hours. Well, let's see. All right, so I will keep doing this next few weeks. And I will come back to the live streaming next Thursday. I share this on the Patreon, but I will try to restart the gathering. It was very unfortunate that Maiko-san has to resign the facilitator due to her health issues last month. But for me, it is very important to keep offering that live gathering. I have done that several times, then I gave up, restarted, gave up, restarted, gave up. So, but I will try this time. And for those who are on the Patreon, I share the link, so I hope that you can join that. For those who took my workshop, you are also welcome. And please check emails I will send out. And I am still wondering if I should, or if I could, or if I would make it public like the Maiko-san did. It requires a lot of preparation, and I don't know what I'm gonna do about that. But I will keep doing that not for sure, as much as I can. Do you still offer classes for 2023? 2020 this year, yes. I do have one in Florida, April 1st to 3rd, which is probably a month from now, like exactly a month from now. And I think there are still few seats left. Maybe. Please check that. I should probably write it down somewhere. Let me check that. Yep, there's a online class is available. Not online class. I don't have a link here, so I will add the link after this not a workshop, probably tomorrow morning. But there's a upcyclestitches.com. I will just write down here for the schedule for 2023. So, yep. Copy, paste. And another one is actually in October in New York, Auburn. If if I'm correct, if I'm pronouncing correctly, it's like next to the nearby Buffalo, northern part of New York. Auburn. That's gonna be in October, which is also on this website. As of now, I have only those two left, and unless something big happens, I don't plan to add more. Even if I add it, it's gonna be 1 or 2 more. I set a limit about 5 or 6 workshop every year. More than that, I will stop stitching, and I don't like it. So in 2024, there's one probably in Minnesota in the summer. For those who wanna just learn quick, I don't like the quickness, but if you really wanna start stitching right now the way we do, and we wanna complete more than you can think of, online classes available. Online might sound not ideal, but if you try, if you can commit into the online class, let's say for a few hours to 10 hours to few weeks, the result will be the same as the in-person class. Okay, thank you so much. Oh, hello from Australia. Thank you so much for coming. I will be stopping the live streaming right now, and I will come back next Thursday on the same times, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, and tomorrow morning, which is the 8:30 a.m. in Eastern Time, which is 10:30 in Japan time, I will have the Japanese live streaming. So if I could see you there, that'd be great too.